It's a very complex county. And I think that's one of the things, and I've said to people on more than one occasion, and I'm not necessarily proud of saying it, but it's kind of our dirty little secret in this county that everyone is not terribly wealthy, that we have a percentage of our population who are very, very wealthy. And so in some ways they skew the numbers. Yeah. We also have over half of every student in our school system is on free and reduced meals, which means they qualify financially, their families qualify financially. We have over 100 students tonight that don't know where they're going to sleep. They're homeless. And to me, that is a dirty little secret. Yeah. It's something we don't really talk about very much. It's something that when we promote the county, we certainly don't mention it. And sometimes I think we fail to take appropriate notice of it at the county level to really recognize how many of our citizens are in need of help. Yeah. I think the first thing is the recognition that the problem's there, and I think we need a greater recognition of the problem throughout the county. Yeah. Because until you recognize you have a problem, I don't know that you can ever solve it. Yeah. Yeah. And I think once we get better recognition of it, at that point you start looking for all the various partners who can come together and start to find solutions. Yeah. And I think that comes from education, it comes from our social service departments, and it comes from economic development. I don't know that we did a great deal legislatively in our first year. I think the biggest thing we did was the STAR legislation, which is the ability to create a floating zone. It would be for essentially a tourist-related enterprise to allow what they call an existing non-conforming use. Normally, if you went forward with that and tried to do something, you'd have to then make it conforming, or you had to stick to the original footprint, the original design. And it will allow, hopefully, some areas of the county to be redeveloped into something a little more appropriate for today rather than what might have been appropriate 20, 30 years ago. Well, I think Harbortown is obviously the one everybody's familiar with, because in a sense they were the ones who came in and asked the council's help to allow them to do renovations and improvements. It lets them go in, because Harbortown was built long ago, the zoning that's in place there now would not allow them to go back and redo it. They would have been limited to pretty much rebuilding what exists today. They want to go forward with a much more innovative, and the vision that has been expressed is something a lot more environmentally friendly, a lot more suitable to the location, something that sort of, in my mind, I'm almost thinking of a Frank Lloyd Wright type of image. I mean, not necessarily identical. Yeah, but I mean, along those lines, where you really take into consideration the landscape that you're building in and try to make the improvements fit and really are part of it. You sort of, because you have an image in your mind of what you want this legislation to allow. Yeah. And it all comes down to, and I think the point that kept being missed is it doesn't actually allow anything to happen. It allows somebody to come in the door and ask the question. And to me, that is very important. I know there are a lot of people on this earth that are far brighter than I am, have incredible ideas and visions. And I don't like to see a door locked in their face. I really like the idea that they can at least come in and float an idea. It doesn't mean anybody's going to agree with it. It doesn't mean it's going to be accepted. It doesn't mean they're going to be allowed to go forward without a lot of public scrutiny, without staff scrutiny, but at least let them bring the idea to the table. Yeah. And I find it frustrating when people don't want to do that. In some ways, I'm going to challenge your term of enormous amount of community pushback. Okay. We've had pushback from a segment of the population, maybe 1,000, maybe. There are 37,000 plus people live in this county. And I think it's probably fair to say in most cases that the people you hear from are those who are unhappy. How often do you take time to write a letter saying, great job on fixing a dinner at a restaurant, but if your dinner came out cold and it wasn't what you ordered, you're all up in arms and writing nasty letters. And it's also the lack of facts. There's been a great deal of concern about Royal Oak in particular. That seems to be a real hotbed of activity. What I think people fail to recognize is that some of the properties down there, some of the larger properties, right now they're zoned 4 houses per acre. So where we're being asked, don't come in and change anything. We don't want you to change anything. Well, that essentially means you can have 4 houses per acre. And I don't think that's what people want. And so they've got this preconceived notion that the council is taking away, potentially taking away a farm and turning it into a development. But what they don't recognize is that's how it's zoned right now. We've been given statistics on several occasions that tell us that a house on a well-functioning septic system is releasing 20 times more pollutants into the atmosphere, into the environment, than that same house would on sewer. I want to see the bay clean. I want to see that happen. And so to me, every single house we can get off septic and get on sewer is a move in that direction. There's this tremendous concern that unlimited growth is going to take place. And there's no way in my mind I can even foresee that happening. I mean, there are an awful lot of properties in this county that if the market were there, could be and could have been developed. I think the project down in Trapp is a perfect example of that. It's approved, it's ready to go, but there are no buyers. So it's been put on hold. There are other communities, other areas in the county, the same thing. It's been put on hold. So it isn't likely, to me, that we're going to all of a sudden say, oh my gosh, we're open for development and we're going to have this huge influx of developers. Because if you can't sell a property, a developer's not going to build it. I think the county needs some degree of growth over the next 10 years. If we don't have it, we're going to be in worse financial shape then than we are now. And we need it both in the commercial as well as the residential area. Nobody wants to see a big development come anywhere in the western or the eastern part of the county. I mean, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the opportunity for individuals to come in, 1, 2, 3 houses here and there. I think so. I think the council, we're getting very close. I think the Planning Commission is on board with probably 95% of where we are right now. I think we have a very small...
Yeah, what is that small bit about?
I haven't even seen it yet.
Okay.
They met... They met this week. I mean, I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen the final recommendation from the Planning Commission. They met earlier this week. The planning staff is putting that together as far as what their recommendations will be.
Yeah.
And then we'll take those up with them and try to hash them out and come to a final decision. I think at that point, we will probably have some public hearings, allow the public to comment, get their input. Then we'll come out with a draft, a final draft, hopefully. Yeah. And that would be where we could actually introduce it as legislation. And then again, of course, there'd be additional public hearings after that. Yeah. So I know there's been some comments about the public, members of the public being frustrated. They haven't had a tremendous amount of input. But this has been such a work in progress. And there have been so many changes. And it is an extensive document that it seems that we kind of felt that we wanted to get it to almost a finished state before we started taking a whole lot more comment. Because this could have been a 5-year project otherwise. Yeah. I mean, every chapter could have ended up with a hearing, changes, another hearing, more changes,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
sort of never get there. So in this process, we're going to come back to the public with something that's, and again, it's a draft. It's kind of got some areas that could be changed, but hopefully most of it has been solidified. As you mentioned, I found it to be an incredible history lesson. I learned a great deal. I listened to both sides, and I felt very torn by both sides, and I think the entire council did. They really listened and they really understood that there were compelling comments coming from both sides on that. And yet in the end, I think each one of the council members really thought long and hard and felt that the decision we made was the best for the county. We've pretty much moved on from there. I mean, you probably are aware that there's some questions about whether or not the process was done in the appropriate manner. I think we're all very comfortable it was. And I think we feel that there was nothing hidden about it, in a sense that there really, it may sound strange, but there really wasn't a great deal of discussion among the council. It was more each one of us, as we frequently do, take in the information, we read what's sent to us, we each individually consider it, and then we vote.
Are you having a good time?
I'm having a great time. I really am. I am having a great time. And again, as I said, I have been so blessed to make so many new friends in the public, among the staff. This county is unbelievably blessed with our employees. We have some of the greatest people I've ever met working for Talbot County, from the top right on down, from the bottom up. Either way you want to look at it. They are dedicated, they care, they come to work to do the job, and they're doing it. And our department heads are working very hard to try to cut their costs anywhere they can. They're coming up with ideas. They're saying, we can do this, we can do that, we can work together on that, we can take care of this. And they really care. And that makes my life so much happier.